Hello and welcome to my first solo round of Roughshod Ramblings. How are you all doing out there today? So it looks like I am now going to be telling you and talking to you about some of my personal experiences. Oh, geez. I even do it to myself. Solo round of Never fails. Never fails. All right, so I'm looking at a picture at the moment. I'm going to bring it up. There we go. That's the picture. And yes, okay, I've had remarks on the funny little joke on the side of it. And I have to say that this has been playing on my mind. I started to do some research on who these two figures were and what they were doing to these guys here. I had an experience back in the day where I was watching guys. Okay, there was this UFO that came across the sky. It landed in some water. There's some rocks around the place. And I basically turned around and was that's a UFO. I got up to the rocks and the arms of the craft had opened out like almost like a crab pushing its claws, choppers outwards. And when it had done that, it was these yellow buses were pulling up. Now, we don't have yellow buses here in New Zealand, Aotearoa. We have all sorts of colors, but not the yellow. The yellow stands out as an American thing. And so I'm watching these rows of these buses pull up, and then it's just men. It's just men getting off these buses, and some of them are naked. But the basic thing is they're all wearing sleep wear. It's like they've been taken from their sleep, and they're all in a line. They're just going there in a trance onto one of these big arms that opened out on this craft. The other thing I noticed was there was nobody guarding them. They knew where they had to go. They were in a trance, and that was the direction that they were taking. Now, I questioned myself. I went back in and I was like, who was driving the buses? Someone had to be driving the buses to get there. Well, they were all men, weren't they? They were all, they were in those positions in the first place to be able to do that. I did get to see the back end of one of the beings that was on this craft, and it was like a grey, pale grey blue, really tall figure. The humans would have come up to maybe its waist, maybe its hip height, and then it sort of slunkied around the corner, so I couldn't see it anymore. But it was like it wasn't a necessity for them to be patrolling the area. There was like that they had some sort of ability, control, or power over the males that were going onto these ships, onto this ship. And what I was seeing was I was able to get up from the rocks, run across, grab one of the males that I knew, take him back to the other. And as we were going back over the rocks, he fell in the water. It woke him up. He saw what was going on, and it was so these human males were getting on this ship. Now, when I saw this picture here, I was like, wow, that reminds me of the ship straight away. It's the ship. So I looked into it a little bit further. Now, these two are meant to be twins, and they have all good standing with all the tales that I've seen in myths and legends out there. But what I'm looking at is these are men. They are, they're handcuffed. They're walking up a ramp. There's no guards around them. They're just following the leader, basically. They're coming up there, and she's bartering with her brother, the slave, how much for the slave, how much for the slave. And the other one's, well, he's got a crook in his hand, doesn't he? And we know what crooks do. So I'm looking at this picture and I'm looking at the myths and legends that were said about them. And I'm like, well, this doesn't sit right. This is not sitting right. And then we've got all this other information coming in, and I'm like looking at the sun and how, I don't see the sun as a ball of gas lighting up the planet for us to survive. I see the sun as a portal, and yeah, it's the heat from the sun is not what we perceive it to be. I've seen different types of craft coming out of the sun. I have a lot of contact with those orange plasma spheres. I don't call them plasma spheres anymore because that's been taken over and it's been taken out of context of what I connected with. So now I'm calling it luminous beings, because whatever these spheres were, it came through my roof and morphed into two beings. It showed me its capabilities. It showed me the capabilities of being able to morph into a human, like a shapeshifter. Now, for a long time, I was like, well, it used deception by showing me a face I was familiar with. But if it wanted to do more deception, it had the opportunity to do a heck of a lot more to me, but it was a friendly presence. It was me who broke the connection of the communication. I just sprung up and ran out of the house. And so it's like they're still around. They still come in, they still visit, they still show, but it's a different crew. So I'm also getting to see that they work in teams, they work in units, much like what we do down here. Now, when I'm looking at this AI atlas, I'm hearing everybody talking about the niceties of these beings coming to save us. Now, I look at that as a mistake. We've reached out there and we've been seeking a savior for our problems for how long? Isn't that what got us into this mess in the first place? All right, I better jump off this. I better jump off this. So, when we turn around and say, okay, we're going to start looking after and be responsible for who we are, what we're doing here, our imprint, it takes me back to that series V. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I watched both parts, but I watched the original movie that came out, and I was just mesmerized by it in the app back then when I was younger. Now when I look at it, it's like, wow, you know, where do these people go in their minds to get this information? And then for us to turn around and go, yeah, actually, we did have this encounter. We can relate that to that. What my recent encounter with a being was, if you have a question, what's your question? What do you want to see? Well, that is the answer. You're going to see what it is that you want to see. Because you're putting that much energy into it. It's like our names. Our names have a certain amount of energy with it, a certain amount of there's so much that's come in the last few days. This being was quite tall, very sleek is the terminology I have to use. And when it moved, I mean, you knew that there was a body underneath this texture, like great robe that just came down. But when it moved, you could actually see the shapes and everything, the silhouette of the arms coming out. So it was what one mass entity that could take on any form. And so in the conversation I was having with this being, it was, what do you want to see? Because that's what you're going to create. That's what you're going to create. What are the energies behind the sun? Maybe these are ships coming in. The main thing I got was everybody's perception. It's like, this is it. If you've got to look at all the different options out there on the table about this 3i Atlas. It's done some really crazy things, but so can Bluebeam, so can AI. We got to just look at the deep fake. We just got to look at the voiceovers and everything else that has been taken from us, all the other activities that are going on under the surface that we're not aware of, that we're not sure of. We hear ramblings about, but that's all they are until we actually get out there and start doing some of the work ourselves. All right. Yes, I already jumped straight into it, didn't I? So I just want to welcome everybody along to Roughshod Ramblings. Thank you for coming along and supporting us. We've got Angels, Our Life, Cosmic Voice 33, G. Lynn, and thank you all for coming along and supporting me. At any time you want to come in and are able to, just hit me up and I will throw the link in the room so we can just keep it going. Just keep it going. Ask whatever questions you want to. So that picture has played a significance in what I've looked into. And I mean, when you look at that stone carving, you see that when I went and did the research, it was carved into a rock face, and on closer inspection, these slaves. I mean, in all of the text, it says that these two did not own slaves. They did not do this to the people. They did not do that to the people. But when you look closer, they've got nose rings in which are chained up. They've got, handcuffs that are actually chained up. That to me is that is a slave. They are followers. So there's some changes in it, but it really jumped out at me, and it put the two connections with the craft and that picture together. So now everything else that was in my head about what this is and that is, it's like the genius that came in and created all of this for such a disturbance. The perception of the veil is gone. It is gone. We're going to see each other shapeshift. What happens if you've got so many nanoparticles in your system that you shine? Are you a reflector? What information is bouncing from you? When you go from one portal to another portal, what information are you taking? The other day, I just want to bring up this thing I was watching the other day, and it's when I had these premonitions, because I've had premonitions all my life. I was that freak kid that would just have a spontaneous combustion of information, and then like, where did that come from? Don't talk like that when you're at church, because you'll end up being exercised. So in these different encounters that I would have, it's like now where I'm at, I can look back and put all the pieces together, and they're showing me a bigger picture, a bigger scenario. And I'm looking at the information that these top researchers and scientists have, and that one or two of them are pretty close to on the experiences that we've had. Okay, getting back to it, like I do, this is ramblings. I go all over the place. So back to the being that was in the blue, the teal. It was like, when it comes down to good, bad, and in between, because this is a question that comes up a lot, is like, oh, were they good? Were they bad? What were they like? Basically, whatever's going on down here is basically going on up there, okay? As above, so below, within, without, and all of that jazz. And you've got one type of species comes in, and they've split into three teams. So they want you to test that bunch over there, that paddock over there. Okay, you're the farmers of that paddock over there, and this is what we want you to do to your livestock. We want you to collect all the data of that livestock. Okay, so you're going to get the trauma package. So you over here, you're going to get the lovey-dovey, everything's going to be honky-dory. You're going to have the silver spoon in your mouth, and then you're going to get the middle lot, which is like a bit of both, a bit of everything. You see everything, you hear everything, and we don't really know what's going on still at the same place. So then you get all that information back to the same species, and they know us. And so when you get us down here going, well, I had a good experience over here with this type of reptilian. Oh no, it couldn't have been a good one because I had a bad one over here. Well, when you start seeing that those guys out there are playing us, and we've been played for the whole time, we've been, all the things that they've done to us and continue to do to us under the guises of we allow it. because, when you're not aware of the fuller picture, it can't hurt you. um, there's no wrong agendas when it comes to the GOVT. Okay, they already are very aware of what they're doing, how they're doing it, the everything that they use to docile the population. I live on a farm. I rent a property on a farm, and I've done this all my life. I've owned my own places. I've done all of that shit and everything, and I've come back here, and I really don't know how people can survive out there with the way the governments are actually treating us all. The psychology behind it is just a constant PTSD trip. Trying to every day trying to figure out how you're going to make ends meet over here or over there. It turns people really nasty. It turns them into characters that are not their genuine selves. And we've got to turn around and say, hey, look, when are we going to stop this? When are we going to stop letting them do this to us? When we had small farms and everybody looked after each other, we threw the produce that wasn't poisoned by patents, who owns what family, what farm, and then it goes further and further. We would have there is so much room on this planet. There's so much room in this Garden of Eden. So when they turn around and tell you that there's not, it's because they're using it for their own purposes. And when I see what farmers are doing, okay, they benefit in one area of it, but then there's another person above them that benefits more. So they're still subservient to somebody else's demand, somebody else's requirements. So if I take myself out of the equation and say, well, I'm not going to buy those sausages today, it's like, what am I doing to break those cycles? I can still have a sausage, but it doesn't have to come from an animal. I can actually, I'm not saying that you guys are brainless that eat meat and stuff, but I'm just saying there's other options. And it comes down to, what are we capable of doing? What are we capable of doing? We're able to create anything that we want to. And so why aren't we? Why are we allowing everything to be self-service in a store? 5 minutes down the road, 15-minute cities, all of this different type of surveillance just to feel safe enough to go out to the car at night, or do something else in your own backyard. Who's watching you? Everybody's watching you. Everybody's listening to you. All your data's being collected. It's time we stop living in this cotton wool society and take off those blinders. Nobody's going to protect you tomorrow because your government's not doing it for you now. If you can turn around and see that we've got homeless peoples, we've got people needing food, people not knowing the basic necessities of life or what they are, and they're going out there and they're doing all these other things. It's like, one day all of that will stop when there's no power and there's no electricity, because they don't know how to generate the right type of power. How long is it going to take before people turn hungry? How long is it going to take before they turn into, cannibals? They turn to cannibalism. We're humans. We're animals. We live in a predator-prey reality. We'll do what we need to survive, whether we switch off upstairs or not. It's in our imprint, okay? It's in this vessel's imprint. So, oh yes, I'm just getting a bit of a frequency hit then. So there's a lot going on at all times. So we've got some stuff here, okay. Well, what do we have? Okay. Yes, I am connected with Cosmic Voice through. We lived in the same location at the same time as seeing these luminous slash orbs, these spheres that would go by. So we've got some material that in the future we're going to actually nut down and find out the experiences what we had. We both have the telepathic connection. I know that when these beings come in, they know that I know that they know, and they can see us around the place. And yeah, I just felt like I was getting an earthquake then. That was a bit weird. Okay, so All right. And so can, all right. Yes, they know what we're thinking. Um, no, we shouldn't. But the whole giving that AI Atlas the attention, that's the whole agenda, is to take your direction to another place. And with the amount of things that are going on, that it's doing this, it's doing that, it's a comet, it's a living entity, it's got beings on board. If it's got beings on board, what are the scenarios? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they indifferent? Are they here to protect us? What are they coming in for? Why is there not more contact going on? Why, are they just going to fly across the space and not let us know they're coming, what they're doing? It's going to be another take of what we've already lived, what we've already experienced. Expect them to get here and just do whatever. I'm not going to stand for that. I'm going to turn around and say, well, that's not what's coming in for me. That's not what I see coming. I see this atlas at the moment as just that, an atlas. Uh, it's still in my AI blue beam radar. It hasn't changed. It is still a space turd. If it turns, I mean, we just need to go through history. If it turns out to be aliens, and you look at all the macabre paintings and texts out there, and then you go into the cathedrals and you see all the skeletons and how long it took to build them and put them in their places. How did that come about? I mean, we've heard about the plagues and the fires and the wars that went on, and the famine, but what about the paintings that also depict these orbs coming in, these ships coming in? They're out there, but nobody's talking about them. This is a thing that I see, and I have a problem with, is there's a lot more information right there, right in front of us, and it's just being whitewashed over so that people don't see it. That's how we create veils. So we stop seeing what's right in front of us. So anyway, I'm digressing again. Okay, where are we? All right, I'm just going to send a couple of links while I'm trying to yabber. Okay, something that recently happened. We now have new neighbors down the bottom of where I'm living, and it's just gone to another level of there is no privacy wherever you go. Whatever you do, wherever you go, there is no privacy to it. And we have being out on the farm, you would think that you wouldn't get visitors. There's no street lights, there's no shops, it's a dust road in the middle of absolutely nowhere. But it is very busy. It is extremely busy. So I'm thinking, is this, when you look at the energy that I'm seeing out here and the energy I experience when I go into the township, it, I hate to know what's going on cities right now, because the last time I visited a major city, I stayed overnight and I could not wait to get out of the place. I could not sleep. The frequency was so high, it was just like ripping through my bones. Now, when I look at what frequency is and how it works and what it does to us, it's what are we doing out there to protect ourselves? Are we doing enough to protect ourselves? For me, the best thing is to turn around and say, look at what's going on. If you're in a building and everybody has got Wi-Fi going at the same time, you're not just getting the Wi-Fi that's in your room, you're also getting, what is it, 30-meter radius around the Wi-Fi unit. And so if you're figuring that out and there's several in your building, you're going to get hit with a whole lot. And then if you start expanding that, and then you see the energy dome over top. What are the numbers of cancer in your local town? What are the numbers of suicide in your local town? This is important. I'm here representing the fact that we don't need to live in someone else's limited, stuck states. Whatever they did to us in the past, we don't need to be doing that again. We don't need to be living in those spaces now. We are stronger than we've ever been because we can recognize the repeated historical patterns, even if you want to call it history. This is over and over again. We've got to wake up and we've got to stop it from happening yet again. The last time round, for me, I feel it was in India, it was nuclear explosions, and it wiped out a lot of history, a lot of magic history. But we've built up the civilizations again to that point. Now I'm hearing that Trump, who I've got absolutely no respect for, and I pity the fool. All right, I pity anybody who is following anybody in government positions because they're the same family lines, they're doing the same jargon over and over again. It's like, leading humans by the carrot in front of them all the time, the same thing over and over again, brainwashed. And it is a really sad scenario to be able to go, oh, we can actually do this for the people and we can get it to work. And as soon as there's an issue, the biggest problem that this planet has is the level of communication, real communication. When you go into, I like to work on the 50-50 contracts, the 50-50 agreements. When you start to feel like it's not going that way, then you got to do something about it. You can't sit and allow yourself to keep getting kicked in the ass or the head over and over again. You got to get out there and you got to turn around and you got to say, no, this enough is enough. I'm worth something. This is what I'm putting into this. This is my labor. This is my mental. This is what I'm doing on the side. So no, I'm no longer going to give you my worth for that value anymore, that you were taking it, that you were taking advantage of. I'm no longer going to turn around and allow people out there to say this about me or that about me. It's time to turn around and start stepping up and saying, enough is enough, guys. Enough is enough. Anyway, where am I? So I'm not sure how long my rambling's going to go for. I've put the link out there, and I'm happy to put it in the room if you're wanting to come in and chat. So where are we? All right, Susan with blue people. Yes, I get a lot of I don't want to admit it, but it is the Vimaras, it's the Indians, it's the Nagas that seems to be quite strong with me in some part of my incarnations and the information that comes in from those perspectives. I mean, I feel it, I smell it. So every now and then when I start getting those inklings, I mean, I could tell you some pretty horrific stories at the moment, but it's about how we get through those stories. And the one that came to mind was um, the culture, the Indian culture, the respect for women, the respect for gender, and the dysfunction that's going on with, the whole transgender thing. If you want to go out there and do whatever, mutilate your body in whichever way you want to, that's up to you, but don't go and subject children or young adults who are not grown up enough to actually turn around and go, hey, wait a minute, there's actually something else out there for me than doing this. Because we make choices by mimic. We mimic what's going on. We mimic, okay, that's getting enough attention over there, so I need to go and do this over here so that I fit in over there. But we are so awesome a creature just as we are, that we don't need to go out there and do all of this crazy stuff. Now, as I was saying about the whole gender thing, at the end, what I was shown on through some of these journeys was, it doesn't matter if you come in as a female, you come in as a male, or you're in an animal or an insect or whatever. These are just the experiences that we have. When we step into a male vessel, that's a blessing in itself. When you step into being a female, you've got all these different perspectives, the different way your mind thinks, the different way the vessel functions. And to be able to step in and step out and change these, if we knew the magnitude of what our abilities are, we would not have governments governing us, because they lose power. They lose power just like this, just like that. All right, so where are we? Okay, I will cancel my sex change. Okay, cosmic voice. You don't need to do that, mate. And yes, I can see you're joking. All right. Okay, I'll just yeah, everybody seems to be having issues with coming in, but that is okay by me. You're good enough being here. Your presence is presence enough. Um, all right, give me a topic. Throw a topic at me. I will be having a guest coming on, not sure when, but in the very near future, James Bartley. We're going to go and do another deep dive. The first hour will be here live, and the second hour will be through his paid channel. And yes, we're going to go some places that YouTube wouldn't allow, because it's time to get this information out there, what's really actually going on underground, the dumbs and the transport systems, the earthquakes and tsunami bombs, the MK Ultra. Everything that's going on is distracting us in one way or another. The whole division, the whole game of division, it starts with when, okay, there's a border you can't cross. Now your color you can't cross. Now your gender you can't cross. Now your words you can't speak. Now your writing you can't write. You just now have a job. Just do that. Don't speak. Only be seen and not heard. Only heard when spoken to. We don't need to live in those realities. This is a beautiful place here on this planet, and we still have time to turn around and regrow it back into the Garden of Eden that it once was. That it was, even though it has been harvested to the max, we can stop that harvesting by being aware of what is harvesting, how it is going about, and what your role in it. What are you harvesting from this earth and from those around you? What's being harvested from you that you're not even aware of? Earlier on, I was going to talk about gatekeepers and what the role is of a gatekeeper. At one of these stages when I was having a lot of interaction, there were these different personas that would kick in. Like I was able to do my psychology and get through that, like I'd already done psychology, and I was able to do the blood nurse, drawing the blood, becoming a phlebotomist, and then moving into being a lab technician, because I felt like I had already done it. I moved through it quite rapidly. um, and this is the same. If we're given the right tools and the right information at the right time, boom, our Garden of Eden is going to come on right on back. All right, we've got something in the room. All right, we have, yes, gatekeepers is a good one. I'll just finish off with gatekeepers, and then I'll jump back to yours, Cosmic Voice. So with the gatekeepers, it's like sometimes they're not even aware of who they are or what they're doing. You think you're working together, you think everything's all honky dory, and then you turn around and realize, actually, you're holding me back. You're actually holding me back. And then you go, okay, well, now that I recognize it, do I allow it to continue, or do I do something about it? Well, you do something about it normally. First of all, if you can't communicate, the situation, you've got to go take it to the next level. You've got to do something about it. So then you go, okay, well, I've let go of that and I can move, and then someone else will come along. Another energy form will come along and replace that space. All right. And then you get sucked into another level of it, and it goes on and on and on. But we get faster at recognizing when we start finding value in ourselves, what our worth is. You start seeing what is holding you back. And a lot of times it's not necessarily other people around us holding us back because they're doing their own journeys. It's your perception, our perception of what we want to get from knowing the value of our worth, how what we want to achieve. What do you want to know about you in this experience? We're here having this experience, this earthly experience. I don't look at it just as an earthly experience because it's so multidimensional. I've got all sorts of beings coming and going. Um, that it comes down to being a multidimensional purpose reality. We're in all of these different dimensions, so we can take on a different persona in each of these different dimensions. We can bring those personalities and skills that we've gained back into this dimension as we can in there. So the stronger we get here by recognizing the journeys and the work that we're doing and saying, hey, no, okay, you're holding me back, I can't do that with you. Or and we grow. I'm getting interactions. I'm getting interactions everywhere. um yeah, so it's like we grow from that. We turn around and say, no, we're not going to say that, we're not going to do that anymore. We have to realign ourselves every time we feel like there's an energy shift. Every time we go to do something, it's a risk assessment. It's what I call risk assessment. What do you want to get out of this experience? Is it going to enrich you for the next experience? Are you enriching others by this experience? There's always going to be somebody out there that wants to do it with you. There's always going to be someone out there to share energy with and grow from that energy. But you have to be that participant. You have to take that step forward and do it in the first place. And with all the trauma and the PTSD and the programming and everything else, we don't want to do that. We don't want to step out there and do it. It's outside of our comfort boundaries. And by knowing that, there are those out there that turn around and predate on the energies and the information. They turn around and go, oh, you need this in your life, you need this. And then suddenly they're in your life and they've absolutely taken everything from you, and poof, they've gone again. And it's like, okay, no, you've got to put your foot down. You've got to say, look, if somebody is lying to you, you say it point blank. There's no more time to beat around the bush. We don't know how long we're here. It's a day by day basis. We got, every moment is really, really precious. If we can't turn the clock back, but we can turn it forward, we can do something for ourselves to better ourselves, to better our environment. I mean, if these are beings on this ship coming in, we're going to have to be looking at what are your basic necessities of survival. And in my head, there's a portion of me that lives in Walking Dead scenario, but it's got aliens in it, what's a sharp entity if I need something, this sort of thing. What can I eat if they go and poison everything? Do you have it up here? It's not all up there, it's also in here, because most of the beings that I've encountered work through the concept of triggering our emotions. They know what our emotions do to us. They know through the chemical reactions, the lush, what it tastes like. And this is one of the biggest harvests. Apart from the lush harvesting, the other big harvest that I see is how they hijack. This is the exterior beings, how they hijack us when we go into different states. Whether it's be like me, for instance, I do the night terrors. That has now shown itself as being able to access different dimensions. So by doing that, if I can do that and see others coming in, eventually I'm going to meet those others that are coming in on the exterior, which is what's happening at the moment. We're going to recognize faces and be like, I know you from somewhere. Where do I know you from? There was a whole stage there where a whole lot of us were going through that, and then it sort of stopped. Well, we're going back into that again because we're crossing those phases again. Anyway, I jumped off track again. So where are we? We have some more questions. Where did we get to? The Christchurch earthquake years ago, I believe it was a formula. Yes, I absolutely do too. I'll show that one. I do too. I was actually in another location at the time, and I had just jokingly said, if there's an earthquake while I'm down here, I'm getting on the very next bus back to Auckland. And it just happened to be, I was down there. I was down in, oh, geez, it's not coming to me right now. It'll come to me when I'm allowed to say it. And we were out having lunch after I was a support person, and there was a name that kept coming up on the top banner, Christy. And I was like, why do I keep seeing that? And I asked my friend that I was with, could she see a name up there? And she couldn't see a name. Anyway, I didn't worry about it, and we were back there, back at hers. And this is when I'd started really getting a lot of orbs were coming in. And it was like they were letting me know something was about to take place. And then we had this really strange sensation inside the house. And that's when, just after that, we got all this information saying an earthquake has just hit Christchurch. An earthquake has just hit. And I'm like, okay, that's it. Get the phone book out. I'm getting on the bus. You can either stay here or you come with me. I only give so much support, and then I'm out. She had plenty of support down there, and my network was in a different location. So, but that I do believe that was an energy device myself. I also looked at the Taurus bull that came up to do with some of the Masonic orders, how they put different statues facing different locations when certain stuff's about to happen. Saw that take place, and it's still dodgy down there. It's all land on top of liquefaction. It's not I don't trust it. But with the whole liquefaction, if they've got the weapons to be able to create the weather warfare that they've got the weather, they've got the weapons to be able to create liquefaction through vibration, through frequency into the ground. So if we can stick a copper rod into the ground and make it pick up certain things, they can do the same thing. That's how I see that. So I'll take that off the screen. People, we should be aware. This is a thing. When you look at what land is, where does land actually come from? It's all volcanic. It's all volcanic. It was all underwater once, and then it started, and then it came up and came up and came up. That's my theory of it. So when I look at a map, I look at the geographical structure of it, where the river runs, where the landslides, where landslips might be. And now we're able to tap in and see where the springs are. We can also go over there and go, okay, well, that landmass over there could be susceptible to this, and this, with this amount of rain or this amount of wind. Or we can look at those areas, and with all the weather warfare and stuff that goes on, they intensify. It's like bringing on labor pains. One injection is all it takes. So yes, I agree with that. Now, where else were we? Oh, okay. I'm not sure what's going on there, guys, with the link. I will give it another go. So, trying to get this to work. Technology is not my friend at the moment. but I'm okay with that. All right, so here we go. Oh, all right. All right. If I have sent you out a link, try it now, please. There we go. If you have a link, try it now. If you want a link, let me know. And I'll send you out the connection. So, okay, so next question. Where are we up to? Yeah, and the beings, they don't all work together. It's like I was having a conversation with Nikki yesterday, and the question came up about them going through and being so, subservient to another race or stuff. I feel like my being is like he has an attitude of when he first came to me, he was like a 10-year-old, running around, hyperactive 10-year-old, but the mind was so highly, highly intelligent. He was able to do things, he was able to just walk through the wall. He was able to show me a doorway that I could not normally see. While he was there, I could see this doorway. And when I looked through that doorway, I could see that he wasn't alone. And he showed me all these other what we call mythological creatures, like different types of Sasquatch, like a large massive dog. It had a name, but I can't think of what the name is at the moment. But there were other creatures as well. There was the Cyclops was there as well, and my Cyclop twins that came to me, they were there. And it was like there are so many levels of interactions that we've had in our ancestral trail to this point. And we're going to still have those connections when we pick up on a frequency, or if you sit down and you watch something and boom, that person in that dress, that costume, the fashion, the style, the tattoos, these are little telltale signs of we've been here before, and working out where we came from, the time zones we came from. And I'm a strong believer that the civilizations get to a certain size and then it's reset. We reset again and again. And because of, if you want to call it the dome, the net, whatever it is, the unawareness, we just keep repeating it. We keep coming back into the same bloodlines, if into the same genetic family lines, lineages. Because when I was when I discovered like all the reasons behind my birth, the being premature, discovering the dates, just seeing that there were too many coincidences, and there was no coincidence at all. Everything was by design. So now I'm looking at, okay, so if we are created and we're created by design, then we're by design, there is an agenda for what we're capable of doing, who we are, where we're going. And it was absolutely fantastic. It was like there's nothing that we're not capable of doing when we put our minds to it. When we turn around and say, clear focus, clear intent, this is the direction, this is what we want, this is what we're looking at. Sometimes we might have to go, oh, your vision is a little bit different to mine. But here's a picture of what I'm looking at. Okay. Does yours look the same? If we all have, if we, I'm looking at an experiment where we get half a dozen people from around the world and we concentrate on the same lotto numbers at the same time because we want the same outcome. All right, we have a guest coming in. So something I did worked. So here comes Susan. Hello, Susan. You are frozen, but I can see you.
Oh, there I am.
And here we go again. We are upside down.
Oh, great. I
I
told you,
think
Reese paints.
this is your I think this is going to be your natural, every time you come in, you're going to come in upside down like a bat. Oh shit. Okay, what can we do to turn you around?
I guess I can go back in again.
I think you were up the right way when you first came in, but you were frozen. Oh, okay. She'll be back. She'll be back. You're gonna love technology. I went into um I went into the local. Oh, yep, you're good. Okay, you've got to mute the live feed now. Okay, so I went into the local lotto shop yesterday to hopefully get my numbers, and they've got the new technology. They've got some new technology, and they have to put the ticket down inside the machine to scan it. And I don't know how many times he did this for one ticket. And I says, "Oh, you got to love our technology advancement. It just takes up more time, doesn't it?" I'm such a bitch. Anyway, so how are you doing, Susan? Can't hear you now.
It was pretty good. I worked and then we had our work Christmas party, believe it or not, in November. And it was kind of fun. So I just got home. I haven't really eaten dinner because they don't do parties like they do out east where we actually get sandwiches. There's just finger food. Usually ready to bite somebody's arm off by the time I'm done doing massage for the day.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
makes me so hungry.
Yeah. Okay, we do have a bit of a feedback. Where is it? I'm not sure. I think it's come through yours. All right. Okay. Cool. All right. So, I mean, you know a lot about gatekeepers as well. Do you wanna do you want to talk on the subject of gatekeepers? Yep. Oh, we've lost her again. Susan. Now she's gone invisible. Okay. Oh, Jesus. All right. Talk on gatekeepers upside down. Oh, no. Okay, next Wednesday. I don't know if I'm going to wait till Wednesday. I suppose we have to. Okay. So speak. Susan. Oh, geez. All right. You got to love Restream. Okay, so next Wednesday, I think our lotto hits, 45 million. Yeah, and it's got my name on it. Okay. It's got my name on it. And if I do, my intention is Garden of Eden. There we go. Yes, she is. But we couldn't hear her. And I'm sure she'll be back once it's sorted. Okay, gatekeepers. We'll get back to gatekeepers. When I was going through the whole gatekeeper phase, it was like, who's holding me back? What are they holding me back from? Why is it important for me to do it? Because I'm getting triggered enough that it is. Yes, I'm getting that way too, Susan. It's triggered me enough for a reaction. All right, it's triggered me enough to get me aware to the gatekeepers' tools, their abilities, their reasons for doing what they're doing. I could turn around and say, well, hey, look, I could learn something from this, or I could just shut that gate and not have anything to do with you being there, because if you have a shut gate, you're not going to go anywhere. It's locked behind you. It's another one of these forms of division. These dividers, they keep coming up and they keep stopping us from being able to move forward. When we weren't such, well, I call it disposable. We live in a disposable society. If we could turn around and see the value and the worth, we shouldn't be going out there having to replace our items over and over again. That's the disposable society. When you're going out there and you're having to, buy food every single time you go out because you don't have it at home, you don't have the surplus at home, you haven't got the seeds in the garden. That's when I turn around and say, well, you've got to do something about thinking about the reality that you're in. It's nice to be able to rent an apartment, go and do a 9 to 5 job, come home, do nothing all the rest of the time, go and buy your food and all of that, expect everything to be done for you and all of this. It's another thing to go out there and do it for yourself, because as soon as they turn all of your power off, all of your water off, you're not going to be able to get out of city, because there's going to be no gas pumped, there's going to be no food trucks coming in. The amount of um, videos and movies that they've put out there for us to watch, apocalyptic scenarios, it's brainwashed into our minds that as soon as somebody's going to struggle for 3 days, they're going to go straight into this mental blooming state of, oh no, it's the end of the world, and now we've got a Walking Dead scenario. Instead of approaching things calmly and saying, okay, we've got to take stock of what we've got now. What are the areas we need to look into? What is our health situation? How far are you capable of walking? Are you capable of protecting yourself in your building if somebody else lights the match? There's all these different scenarios that we take for granted that are never going to take place. We don't need to concern ourselves with that. We live on a planet that has an abundance of everything, except there's homeless. There's people dying of starvation. We can't do $1 a day every day for the rest of our lives for, a propaganda skit saying that we're feeding some other kid somewhere else and this is what's happening, because it's all rubbish. We know that's not true anymore. We know those programs don't work anymore. If you don't get out there and hand it over yourself and buy that kid a t-shirt and you can see that kid every day or whatever, then it's not going where you believe it's going. You've got to believe in what you're capable of doing. This goes right back to, who is it you're communicating with? What are the voices that you're hearing? What makes you do what you do? So anyway, that's that part done. I can't believe we've been doing this for an hour. I've almost managed a whole hour. Geez, it's just gone so fast. And I had my topic was going to be gatekeepers, and I was going to discuss and show some of the information on some of the beings that have come in. But I'm actually really quite chuffed that we've all managed to do an hour. If we've got nobody that wants to come in and continue chatting, or you lovelies out there don't have any questions, then I'm going to wrap it up. Because I'm starting to get a bit of a hoarse throat. So whereabouts are we? All right. It's good to see you, Maya. Okay, no sound at both ends. I'm not sure, but everything is open for you to come back in. And yes, it is we are what's disposable. We're like, friendly fire. I feel really sorry for, we're built up to believe we go out there to protect our own against monsters. But then it turns around that it's the monsters that we are joining up with. They are the monsters. We're on the wrong side. When we turn around and say, hey, look, there's there's another way that we can do this. There is another way that we can do it. And because the ways that we've been told and programmed and brainwashed to believe work, I can't see that working. I'm no better off than I was 20 years ago, apart from my mindset. apart from my mindset, I know who's doing what. Psychologically, I can turn around and say, yes, I accept that, or no, I don't. I can, there's things that I can do that I couldn't back 20 years ago because I couldn't see it. I was living it. I was in it. I couldn't see the exterior of it. It's like in the now, where we are now, 10 years down the track from now, we'll be like, wow, we couldn't see that then, but we can now. Well, who knows? We might be all Jetsons by then. But anyway, so I'm going, yes, intuition versus, was that premonition? Yeah. I go with the intuitions. It's like your instincts. These are your basic instincts. When you let go of all the perfumes and the deodorants and the man-made chemicals and the high toxins in your laundry, and you do something about your food, and you start. These are steps. These are just all these little steps are forms of communication. You're wanting to learn to communicate with yourself, your better version of self. It doesn't matter whether it's your higher self, your lower self, your inner child, your exterior child, wherever it is. We learn to communicate with our heart brain, you know our gut brain, our heart brain, our different chakra systems. When we start going, okay, I just got a message, I just saw that in the trees. I go out there at night and I listen to the trees talking. When the trees are talking, I hear the birds talking. They communicate the weather to each other. It's awesome. um, and my goat, oh geez, lovely little Grendel. Oh, he's so much fun. Yesterday he learned how to jump up on my back, and he thought it was such an awesome thing to conquer me. So anyway, I am going to wrap it up at that, and I will save some of these messages, these questions and things for the next time round, because I am getting a bit of a hoarse throat. I did a couple of shows last night and a couple yesterday, and then today. But thank you, everybody, again for coming along and helping me to get through my very first solo. Yes, I will remember you for doing that and being there for me. So thank you very much. And yeah, let's do this again. Next week, I have on my Thursday, your Wednesdays, I hold Hearthfire Hangout. And that is, I don't really want to call it a support group because it's just a bunch of us. We get together and we nut out our everyday lives so that we've got someone we can share it with, just bounce it off. And we hear the best, we get different suggestions. We get different opinions saying, no, don't do that. And it's good. We've helped each other out on a lot of it. And so thank you, everybody, for coming along. I hope to see you again, either through the channel here or through Hearthfire Hangout. The links will be put into the room later on when I can talk again. All right. So thank you, and safe journeys, safe travels. Have an awesome rest of your weekend. All right. Bye for now.